Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, checking in on Canadian and USMJ. We'll focus on US a bit more as there was more action there. At the end of this video, I attached the update I did last night, Sunday, for members, just as a bit of an insight as far as how the trade plays out and how it's established and the game plan and all that. Certainly hindsight at this point for that information, but again, just looking to give insight as to how this plan has developed as we have pulled back. So notable events. Wednesday, FOMC is when we get the Fed pretty much deciding, are we going to get rate cuts? There's a 20% chance of a rate cut this month, a 68% chance of a rate cut next month. If we get a rate cut, the market is likely to respond bullish to it. If we get language that indicates rate hikes are not likely, it is likely going to be bearish for the market. We also have earnings for CGC on Thursday. Those are two events that have me looking for Canadian MJ and for Canadian MJ to not see a whole lot of action tomorrow. Wednesday with the FOMC and then Thursday with earnings will be the catalyst short term. For the US space, Wednesday we could potentially get a vote on MJ being legalized in New York. In my opinion, a little bit of this bounce in MJ today is pricing in potential that it passes, because about a week ago, a lot of people were looking at very low odds, maybe 25, 33% chance of passing, and now we're looking up towards 45, 50% chance of passing. And if it were to pass, we would see further bounces and we would see further short covering. That would be best case scenario for the USMJ market, would be Wednesday and New York passing legalization. So for CGC, our daily higher low is now formed. So we have our low, high of the bounce. This is our higher low. We changed the hourly trend. Decent close at the end of the day. The SPY pullback at the end of the day dropped the price down towards the low, and CGC did not react to that. So we're now going to see, can the bulls make their way up to 44.17? I personally would be surprised to see a break of 44.17 resistance or $40 support before either a significant FOMC reaction Wednesday or the earnings reaction Thursday. Again, not expecting a whole lot of volatility until those 2 days. So we'll see how long the bulls can keep the hourly uptrend. Our higher low is 41.20. If the bulls can hold 41.20 tomorrow and break 42 psychological, we'll be fit snugly within this range, keeping in mind that we have not changed the daily trend at any point in the last 6 weeks. And if we get a higher low and higher high break of 44.17, that would be notable for these bulls. Cron on the daily time frame, also looking for that higher low. So low of the dump, high of the bounce, higher low now looks set at 15.02. Keeping in mind that we have not changed the hourly trend here. Low of the day straight to the high of the day. Next time we consolidate, we'll anticipate an hourly higher low will form, but we need that clear trend change to be confident that this daily bounce can get any follow through. And we're going to look for a daily lower high compared to 1786 and a tightening daily range here as well. APHA, trying for that daily higher low. This tightening range is a little bit more prolonged. We have the high, low, lower high, trying for this higher low. Have we changed the hourly trend? The answer is no. We have to see a clear hourly trend change to be confident this is our daily higher low, and then we would look for a bounce and a lower high compared to 760, keeping in mind that the major MJ names in Canada are going to react to whatever CGC earnings reaction is. ACB broke bearish from its tightening range, didn't get any bear follow through, but we also haven't seen the bulls show up. We've got resistance of 782 and 807. Support is 750 and 736. Just a lack of clarity in the short term, but still the bottom line is a sideways tightening range. And again, look at SPY on the daily chart. Very tight. It's just the market waiting for Wednesday. Not much going on at all. There's your volatility. This is a lack of volatility and a lack of trading opportunity. So on a week like this, I definitely pump my brakes and trade less, knowing the market is very tight and waiting on those events. TLRY had a solid bull day today. Did see some profit taking by the close So we have our low down in the 34s, high of the bull move, trying to form a daily higher low, but again, not convincing here either. No hourly trend change. CGC is the only one with the clear hourly trend change, and even that isn't getting a whole lot of confidence. We have to see TLRY hold 39.76 and break resistance of 41.95 to change the hourly trend and have confidence that our daily higher low has been established, keeping in mind that we haven't really convincingly changed the trend at this point from this oversold bounce. We just broke some resistance, and now we've been consolidating for 5 days since that big bull move up. OGI, still all bears, not oversold on the daily. So we're looking down at support, 840 broke. Next level is 812. Again, you want to know where we stand longer term time frames. And at this point, 840 breaking is losing the weekly uptrend. So now we zoom out to the monthly, and we are certainly anticipating a monthly higher low compared to 411, but there's a lot of space where that can occur. I personally don't have much interest in Canadian MJ right now because the opportunity, and as I say in the end of the video, this is pretty much USMJ was shaping up as the trade of 2019 for me personally, as I was in very heavy and was ready to go heavier, recognizing opportunity. But where Canadian MJ stands, I'm being very patient and waiting for more clarity. And once I'm done focusing on this oversold bounce on USMJ, I'll start paying more attention to Canadian MJ and watching for potential entries for these monthly higher lows. So we're looking for a lot of monthly higher lows in the MJ sector, both Canadian and US. And a name like OGI and a name like Hexo, those monthly higher lows are extremely likely to form. It's just a question of where. So we want to be watching for that. So for Hexo on the daily time frame, again, we're just getting oversold on the daily. We have broken some weekly supports. 510 is the next level. If we were to drop down to 510 towards 510 tomorrow, that 4-hour RSI would be crushed. But these daily oversold levels, which aren't really oversold, I'm not interested in these bounces because we're not at extremes. I was interested in USMJ because the daily RSI levels were down in the 20s on a couple of these names, and that's not the case for Canadian MJ, so I'm not interested yet. We're not at enough of a flush for that to be the case. I will be watching for daily trend changes in Canadian MJ because that will be the first signal that our monthly higher lows have potentially formed. TRST is just a slow fade. Daily RSI grinding 30 the last few days. Monthly time frame on TRST, very weak. 594 is the must-hold support level. There may be a play off of that, but again, there's names like Hexo and OGI out there that are positioned much better on their monthly longer-term time frames, so I personally would probably be more interested in them than on TRST, which is approaching all-time lows. VFF daily inside bar, and watching the 4-hour time frame, we have the low of the dump, expecting a lower high compared to $13 and a tightening range. So looking at it on the hourly chart, we will confirm an hourly trend change if the bulls can hold 1208 and break 1233, but not looking to see any kind of significant changes on this daily range. We did break 1180 support, so that tilts the odds in favor of the bears, but the fact that we didn't get much bear follow through is notable. So still on any bounce, even if we break the daily inside bar bullish tomorrow, we're just going to look for a lower high compared to 1386. I would need a daily trend change for it to be notable for me that VFF were shifting momentum. So essentially, I either need very extreme oversold conditions, which no one in Canadian MJ right now has, aside from the small cap names. I have no interest in the small cap names because they're illiquid and they're even less liquid than USMJ, and it's enough of a challenge for me to play the USMJ space as far as liquidity goes. So I have no interest in those dumps, and I will have interest if we change daily trends, but until then I'm remaining very patient as far as Canadian MJ is concerned. USMJ, IIPR is the MJ bull of 2019. It's just a huge breakout into blue sky. Dividend increase news is rocketing us higher. We had a pullback to 90.73, and in 4 days since then, we're up a solid, 30%? 28, 29, 30%. So that's what the weekly chart looks like. That's a very good looking chart. Certainly wouldn't be looking to make an entry now. Hourly is just starting to consolidate. Anything above 108.67 is an hourly high or low. If we lose the hourly uptrend, then we start to see daily consolidation where we'll look for a daily higher low to form. And that is a very strong bull name. And that's potential. You could look at that as potential insight that IIPR, with their business model, perhaps that is the market saying we don't expect the safe banking bill to pass, and we expect names to have dividends to get some increased attention, especially if we do get any market uncertainty again. Curaleaf. So let's now get into USMJ. We have bounces underway. The strongest bounces were in some of the more beat up names: IAN, OH, and CL. CL wasn't as beat up, but that was definitely the biggest bounce today. Curaleaf, solid little green day, daily inside bar. We're not getting too extreme on Curaleaf as it is the USMJ sector leader, so holding up a bit better. Anything under 1070 is a daily lower high. Have we changed the hourly trend? The answer is not yet, but if we come out tomorrow and break the high of 1007, we will have an hourly trend change, and that will be the start of a daily bounce that will have us focus on 1070. Need a clear daily trend change here. Daily 12-period exponential resistance has rejected the last two bounce attempts, and that's going to be in play tomorrow. That price will probably drop down to about 1050 or so. So that's going to be lining up right near our daily lower high price level of 1070. IAN bounce underway. So turnaround from management. I like the move. I like the fact that they listened to shareholders and that they kept the priced options low for employees and changed it for the executive team. And now we'll see where we go from here. IAN is definitely one of the names in the USMJ sector that would benefit most from New York legalizing, as they already have a footprint there. But again, I'm not counting on that for this trade. So I am just looking for a daily lower high to form compared to 543. I entered the majority of my IAN position on Thursday, and I entered a bunch of OH on Friday. And at the end of the day Friday, I was in the red, because obviously I was in the red in the IAN position at that point. But it was the largest US MJ holding that I've ever had by multiple hundreds of percent. So like I said, I was making this my play of the year. Whether it's a red trade or a green trade remained to be seen. But with this bounce, I'm a lot more comfortable because I took a little bit of IAN profit at the end of the day. If we see a green day tomorrow, at least to start the day, I will take a little bit more profit, because we have to keep in mind that we can absolutely see a daily lower high and drop to lower low. We always have to prepare for further downside when we're trading against the trend. We cannot predict that this is going to be the bottom. We can position ourselves to benefit if it is the bottom, but I would need to see a lot more bullish action to be convinced of that. Best case scenario for the bulls is to bounce up to $5 or beyond, pull back for low volume, higher low on the daily, and then change the daily trend. So if we see a higher open and some strong start first thing tomorrow, the shorts will continue to cover a bit. We've got resistance at 473 and then 5 psychological. We don't have a clear hourly support established, but when you look at the trading action from today, and if you watched this base be built, this is me saying this is the hourly higher low for me, 443. And I'm going to say anything above 443 is an hourly higher low. I already consider the hourly trend changed. The reason that it's not clear on the hourly chart just has to do with timing. If that consolidation took place a little bit different timing in the morning, the candlestick on the hourly rolling over would look different, and it would look like a clear hourly higher low. So that's where me as an analyst, I use my own discretion and say, for me, that is our hourly higher low of 443. That's the most important support level on the hourly chart for me. So we'll see how much follow through we can get from these bulls. And what I do, again, I've established this game plan many times or explained it, where I scale out into strength, I lower my cost basis and my break-even point, and then I hope to get follow through and hope that my longer term position, I can keep holding it. And OH will be a good example of a better entry, because I had a better entry timing the bottom of OH. And again, people watching these videos, skeptical of me in hindsight, saying I entered here and I entered here, I absolutely understand that, as this space is full of some interesting folks. But just know that anything that I say in these videos where I say I did this, I will only ever say I did this if I was actively in the chat room with 1,000+ people watching, if I was saying as I was doing it. So on Friday, OH, when I was live streaming and then typing in the chat room, I was letting people know I was establishing my OH position. So that's why I come on a video in hindsight and say I was buying OH. And, you know, a lot of people think, yeah, right. But, so, IAN. Any consolidation on the hourly, I will consider a higher low as long as 443 holds. When we lose the hourly uptrend, the top of the daily bounce will be set, and we'll look to pull back and see if we can form a daily higher low. I am less comfortable in IAN than I am in OH. My OH profits are offsetting the less of an ideal entry that I entered on IAN, but the strong close definitely making me confident now that I will exit these trades in the green and have a long-term established position in some of these names as well. So for OH, I entered all of my positions on Friday, which again, much better entry, as I entered a little bit too early on IAN, 1 day too early. But this bounce is significantly making me comfortable because I took profit in OH today that has now dropped my break-even point to right here, 770. And I'm trading the US ticker, but I did the math. So now I can ride this position essentially risk-free. If we drop to a lower low and I exit, that will put me break-even. So if we can get some bounce follow through and then see a higher low and higher high, I'll have my long-term position and I'll be riding pretty risk-free. That is my ideal scenario of how I play these oversold bounces. Again, it's not ideal for IAN because I did enter a little bit too early, but this is just a nice example of the ideal scenario. So same thing tomorrow. The more strength we see, if you've watched these videos, you know that when I'm playing oversold bounces, the more aggressive the bears are, the more aggressive I am. It's the same the opposite way around. The more aggressive the bulls are into this move, the more overextended we get, and the more overbought we may get on the hourly time frame. I'm scaling out, knowing that anything under 1045 is just a lower high. What are the odds that we see another 20% move from here to get to that resistance? I don't think it's very likely, or I should say to break that resistance. So I'm anticipating daily lower highs are going to form. If we see green days tomorrow of 3-5%, I'm scaling out more, knowing that I can always re-enter when I'm looking for a daily higher low. But for me personally, it would take a solid big bull move up. I'd need to see pretty much the daily 12-period exponential resistance, which has been rejecting the price. I'd need to see that tested tomorrow for me to take further profit because I have a position that I want to hold long term now, and I'm very comfortable with where my break-even price on that position is. CL, huge day. So we weren't as oversold, but the bulls really following through, up 15, 16 plus percent, 17% on the day. Weekly time frame, nice solid bounce. Is our monthly higher low set is the question. That's a very convincing candlestick after just 2 days of a bounce. We certainly need a daily trend change to take place. The bulls have given themselves tons of space to work with. We would need to see a drop of 16% to drop to lower lows. And we may not even be done with this bounce just yet. Profit taking at the end of the day, anything above the low of today is an hourly higher low. And the bulls are going to look for a daily higher low to form compared to 1149. And they'll have to break wherever we top out to change the daily trend. Change that daily trend, and the odds that our monthly higher low has been established will go up a decent bit. Keeping in mind that what the overall market does in reaction to the FOMC, while the SPY correlation with USMJ has broken significantly, we're still going to keep the overall psychology of the market in mind here. And if we get word from the Fed that rate cuts are not coming like the market has been pricing in for the last couple weeks, that would shift the market sentiment to a little bit more fearful. We want to see the market as confident as possible so that funds can go into higher risk plays like USMJ. CWeb, little bounce, didn't really do much. 16.19 has to break. We have a lower high everyday pattern, and our clear daily lower high is 1768. So anything under 1768 is just a daily lower high. Daily 12-period exponential resistance has been a little visual guide. We haven't even touched it, but every little bounce attempt is pulling back just under it, and that's going to be in play on this bounce. So exponential moving averages are key for me to gauge how strong these bounces are. And again, if this is as strong as our bounce is, we can absolutely see further downside. We cooled off our SI levels, and we aren't getting any kind of follow-through at this point. We need daily trend changes to have any confidence in prolonged, significant bounces. We need hourly trend changes as well. CWeb has not changed the hourly trend. This move was coming straight off the low, and we need a clear hourly higher low and higher high to have confidence in follow-through. So just be aware that when you're entering a trade for a certain reason, I was entering IIPR and Hexo because of daily RSI levels. So now that the daily RSI levels are no longer oversold, my reason for being in these trades diminishes. obviously the longer term outlook, but as far as the technical reasons of this entry, which is why I scale out when that's no longer the case, to lock in some profit and give me comfort. TRUL, weak bounce attempt, potential bear flag. A lot of these bounces are still potential bear flags. Anything under 1490 and 1491 is just a daily lower high. Fly in the eye. So it's a weak bounce attempt. Have we changed the hourly trend? Not convincingly in any way. Bulls have to see a high of the day tomorrow. Any USMJ name that does not break the high of today, tomorrow in the first 20 minutes, I would expect a good amount of profit taking because these daily charts are still weak overall. So TRUL didn't really prove much to the bulls today. We saw some oversold bounce, yes, absolutely, but nothing on the daily chart. Daily chart is where we have to see follow through if we're going to have confidence in this sector forming monthly higher lows. GTII, oversold bounce. Daily inside bar, again, very weak bounce. Nice volume, but no bounce follow through. Anything on GTII under 1640 is just a lower high, keeping the bears in control. And even if we break the high of today on a name like GTII or CWeb tomorrow, if we don't see significant follow through and solid bull volume, the bear flag scenario is still there. We must protect against bear flags when we are trading counter the trend. MedMen, still alive for the potential inverse head and shoulders pattern. The red day Friday decreased the odds a bit for me, but if the bulls can turn things around and break 311 and 321, then we will change the daily trend for the first time in a long time, multiple months. So that's worth watching for a shift in momentum. Again, daily exponential resistance. Every bounce is rejecting. We're here now, and if we get over these levels and break these resistances, we'll potentially see the first bull cross of these exponential moving averages in just about 2 months. So that's all that. So I'm going to be looking to not make any entries in Canadian nor USMJ at this point. I made my entries on Thursday and Friday. I am going to be scaling out to lock in some profit. I'm going to be gauging how strong is this bounce, how much space do the bulls have to form a daily higher low, what does volume look like on consolidation. All of these are going to give me clues as to what's the most likely scenario. Is it more likely we drop to daily lower lows, or is it more likely we can change these daily trends and potentially give us the first indications that our monthly higher lows have been established? Wednesday with New York will be key as far as short-term potential catalysts. Other than that, keep an eye on the FOMC Wednesday on SPY and what the Fed is saying as far as rates. And we'll continue to check back in. I appreciate you watching. Hope you're well, and do a good thing. Everyone checking back in, not going to do a full-out video like normal. It's Sunday night, and I'm just getting settled from the road. Had a good camping trip, but we're going to get ready for what to expect next week. My attention is on USMJ. The major Canadian MJ names, most of them are looking for a daily higher low to form. As we know, we need an hourly trend change for that to take place. CGC on Friday had the low, high, and we didn't change the hourly trend. That's what the bulls need to pull off on Monday to give us the daily higher low. Cron closed at the low of the day, weaker. Also looking for a daily higher low. But the size of the pullback at this point has us looking for an equilibrium setup, and there's no sign of an hourly trend change at this point. If we see weakness first thing on Monday, I may be interested just for a short-term oversold bounce play. That 4-hour RSI will be getting close to oversold. The hourly RSI is oversold, and we've got support at 1523 and then a gap to fill. But with where the RSI ended on Friday, if we do see weakness first thing head down towards $15, we're going to be pretty darn extended on some of these time frames. So that might have my interest. APHA looking for a daily higher low as well. It's in an equilibrium setup. No sign of the hourly trend change just yet. But my focus is on USMJ, and this is really shaping up to be the trade of 2019 for me. Whether that means it's a red trade or a green trade remains to be seen. But it's an opportunity nonetheless that I am going to be focused on for the next week or two. So I currently established an IAN position on Thursday. The majority of the position was established on Thursday, so I'm currently red in that position. I established OH position on Friday, and I'm currently green in that position. We can distinguish the MJ names in the US space right now by names that bounced on Friday and names that closed at the low of the day. So just off the top of my head, the names that closed at the low of the day, CWeb, GTII, and Curaleaf. Still weakness, no sign of a bounce. and TRUL, HARV, IAN. Well, actually, IAN is probably in the middle of the road, but TRUL, HARV, CL, and OH are names that had a lower wick with a bounce before the close. So as we know, short-term bounces mean nothing. IAN saw a quick bull move, and this shows you the power of the bulls when there's volume there and when momentum shifts, but it was essentially a 4% move in 5 minutes, almost a 5% move in 5 minutes. So that shows us when sentiment shifts, these names are going to move quickly, but that was just, in my opinion, some real quick short covering to start the morning and then a fade, and that was because the sector as a whole was still very weak. Be very skeptical of individual names bouncing with the sector all red. So if IAN, which it was on Friday, was green by 0.5% or 1%, 2%, and everybody else is red, IAM bulls are probably not going to get any significant follow through. And of course, if I'm playing the trade on the daily time frame, which I am, this is a swing trade obviously, I'm playing the daily oversold bounce. So if a bounce takes place on the hourly, that's not what I'm looking for. If it were significant enough, then I would scale out some position and then look to re-enter on an hourly high or low. But at this point, we need a clear hourly trend change to have confidence that the bounce is underway. With the way I'm currently positioning myself, I have all the IAM position that I want right now. If we were to drop under $4, I would consider maybe adding a bit more, but that's going to be touch and go in terms of making a decision in the moment. But I don't want to go too exposed on one individual name. I don't mind going exposed on the whole USMJ space if I'm spreading it out, because the last thing I want to do is have 200,000 shares of an individual name and then have to scale out all those shares on that one individual name. It would be much easier to scale out 50,000 shares of IAN, 50,000 shares of OH, 50,000 shares. Just spreading things out is the bottom line. So we have a scenario where the most beat up names were IAN and OH, the reason being they had negative news in the middle of a fear cycle. So the negative news was IAN and the option repricing. OH, negative news was the DOJ needing more information for the deal before the deal goes through, and that led to oversold conditions. But OH is trying to see a bounce. It's a bullish reversal candlestick on the daily. The hourly time frame had a weak bounce. Again, this is just a potential bear flag. Every single bounce, we have to be prepared for the potential that it's a bear flag. The way that I'm positioning myself right now, I will lose on this trade if we get daily bear flags, because as I said, I'm looking for daily bounces to play out, and I have lots of cash that I'm going to be looking to play into other names. No one is as oversold as IAN and OH. Names like Curaleaf are holding on stronger, and that's because, in my opinion, Curaleaf is the sector leader. But if this weakness continues to start this week, and for the next couple days, I will be looking to build positions in other individual names. I haven't honed in on exactly who yet. OH, if this is just an hourly lower high, I do have more cash available for an OH addition to my position. But like I said, I'm green in OH and red in IAN. And it's the kind of scenario where if the bounce does get going, let's say we have another red day Monday, I add a little bit more, and let's say I add some of any name, let's say GTII. I chose GTII to add some more as well. It could be a scenario where the daily oversold bounce gets going. IAN might just get me back to break even, and I might just start scaling out at break even because my entries were a bit sooner, but the green in OH or other names that I had a better entry on would then make that play worthwhile in terms of looking for the bounce in the USMJ space. So Wednesday, if we get a vote for New York legalization, and if that were to pass, the market is not pricing that in. So if that were to pass, IAN would see a very quick turnaround, in my opinion. That's something we're certainly keeping an eye on, and the odds of it happening are lower, in my opinion, than the odds of it happening, and the market is agreeing with that, with how it's pricing it in. So if we were to get a bullish surprise, the market would then have to reprice in the fact that New York legalization we're going through. I personally am not anticipating that, so I'm not counting on that for my trade game plan. Again, I'm looking longer term. My goal here is, and another thing is, my account's coming off of all-time highs, and that's very important because I can be more high risk, high reward. If I were in a rut right now and I was having a rough couple of months and I was, red the last 3 months and struggling a little bit to find my footing and find my flow, I probably wouldn't be making this trade right now. But I'm coming off of when I was in the zone and having a really good month and account at all-time highs, and that's a different scenario that allows me a bit more higher risk. So if we keep seeing weakness, I'm not giving up on the USMJ space. I will just look to enter other names that get as beat up as OH and IAN were. Like I said, I've got plenty of cash, and at this point, I could add 150% more cash than I already have in these positions. So again, I am being very patient. If we get some significant oversold bounces, I will look to scale out to free up some cash because again, always got to protect. If we see another leg down, another bear flag, the 4-hour chart can be a bear flag, the daily chart can be a bear flag. We always have to protect against the worst case scenario. But for me personally, I am looking to hold my IIN position and my OH position and potentially add more of other names if we see more red to start this coming week. So that's where I stand. Everyone needs to establish their own game plan based on their own risk tolerance and how long you're willing to stay in these trades, if you're making longer term entries or not. Like I said, I plan on exiting on some oversold bounce. Ideal scenario for me would be for these names to see an oversold bounce and just looking for a daily lower high, but a solid 10% bounce. Let's say, 15% would be a bit better, a bit more breathing room. But we're looking for a 15% bounce. I would scale some out. And then if we get more follow through, great. I keep profiting. If we top out and head back down to support, then I take a lot of risk off the table. I am going to be looking to come out of this bear move down, however long it lasts, with long-term positions in the USMJ space. I did not establish any significant long-term positions in the USMJ space when we were seeing strength. This is when I want to establish longer-term MJ positions because fear is when we want to be buying. So I'm going to be taking it one day at a time as always. I will certainly update you all with what I'm doing, but that is my game plan for now. And it's certainly a higher risk trade and it's certainly less liquid with these OTC names, but that is the risk I'm willing to take for the potential of the reward. So hope you have a good rest of your Sunday night and I'll see you live tomorrow morning. So the most recent chapter of story time from this past weekend went on a camping trip with about 25-30 different people in Joyce Kilmer National Forest, or actually Joyce Kilmer Old Growth Forest inside a national forest. And it's just some of the biggest trees, untouched, old growth forest on the eastern coast. And the biggest trees are about 5 or 6 people hand in hand around the diameter. And a great place to camp with just undeveloped sites along rivers or lakes. And you can bring your canoes and inflatables. So we went out there with a bunch of people. I probably only knew half of them. But one thing this group is really good at doing is organizing and showing up and everybody doing their part. So we had maybe 3 canoes and a big whitewater raft and a bunch of floaties, and everybody brought food for the group. And we had, 3 people designated to cook dinner Saturday night and 4 people for breakfast Sunday morning. And we all eat as a group. And the food that we were eating, if you walked down from a fancy hotel and this was in the lobby, you'd be impressed. So I was very nourished all weekend, as we all were, and just doing the hangout, have fun, play around. One of the games we played, we were standing on either side of the whitewater raft, and there's a rope in between, and you all pull it. There's 2 people, and you pull it as fast as you can, and then once you get taut on the rope, you can't fall in or out, and it's a fun tug-of-war game and a lot of falling in the water. But that was great, and a lot of fireside drumming and music, some great musicians, some singers and banjo players and all that good stuff. Some kids and dogs were there. Pretty much the ideal camping weekend as far as I'm concerned. But it's the kind of thing where when I come back from that, it's really hard for me to care about trading and profits and candlesticks. So it takes me a few days to get back into the flow of things. And that's when I just pump the brakes. And I know that my mental state's a little bit different and I'm not really focused and in the zone and in my routine. So the next couple days I scale back my trading, and it's much different than if I'm in the zone and in my routine and an opportunity presents itself and I get very aggressive. If I were to try and get very aggressive right now, it probably wouldn't end well. So I'll share some videos over the next couple of days from that, and then we'll get back in the routine. See you next time.